Hello everyone, it's the Doom Dog, and today I wanted to talk to you about why you should consider buying a PlayStation Classic. First of all, it's $30 at this point. That is a pretty damn good deal for what is offered, even if it is flawed. Second off, the modding community has been hard at work making this thing fucking amazing, and that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about right now. Now, I have done videos in the past. I did a video showing how to mod this thing, and it has moved beyond that, so it's a bit out of date at this point. And I've done a few other videos as well on the PlayStation Classic. I haven't brought it up in a while, so I thought I'd show you guys what the modding community has done. There are two primary hacks for this thing. One of them is called Auto Bleem. I have no experience with Auto Bleem, but I hear it's a pretty solid product that is different than one I use in a lot of ways, but also very, very good in its own right. The one that I use is called BleemSync, and BleemSync comes with two things: BleemSync itself and RetroArch. Let's start with RetroArch, because this is where a whole lot of the cool stuff that you haven't seen yet before lies. RetroArch is a shell that lets you launch a wide variety of classic emulators for a whole ton of classic games, and there's far more here than I have installed. But let's take a look. First, we got the Atari Jaguar, and don't bother putting Jaguar games on your system. Let me just launch one and I'll show you why. But basically, it doesn't run very well. None of them run very well. I tried every single Jaguar game that I personally own, and none of them run very well. If it launches at all, it will be choppy. Yeah, there I get a little heartbeat from this game, but it does not play well at all. It probably has something to do with the hardware for the Jaguar itself. You see how choppy this is, though? Yeah. Every single game plays like this. But don't be discouraged by that, because there are plenty of other cores, including stuff that I don't even have installed. Okay. Doom. You can play Doom on this thing, and it has a core called PR Boom is what it's called. But if you install Doom on your PlayStation Classic, make sure that you install prboom.wad. Otherwise, it's going to fail to load the content every single time. But Doom runs just fine on it. It actually runs pretty damn well. And you can install your various WADs to it, and it'll run like... I installed Sigil. It runs Sigil just fine. I've got Doom 2, Plutonia, and TNT installed on it as well. Beyond that, let's take a look at the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance is hit and miss. Not every single game runs exceptionally well on it. Some of them do, some of them don't. And I have tried every single core there on the ones that don't run particularly well, but this is one of the ones that doesn't run particularly well. I'll show you how it runs, and then I'll show you one that runs a lot better. Yeah, it's pretty choppy. And the music is choppy. And then it'll go to this and it'll run just fine, and I don't know what to make of it. But it goes back and forth between choppy frame rate that's absolutely unplayable and playable frame rate. So let's do something that does run well. As I remember, this one does run well. This is Metroid Zero Mission. Let's start... And if you've never played Metroid Zero Mission, it is an absolutely excellent remake of the original Metroid. I highly recommend seeking out this cartridge and playing it. It is great. But it's a very faithful remake of 1. It's got more of a sense of direction. See, this runs just fine. This one's playable. Let's go back to Game Boy Color. I've only got 3 Game Boy Color games on it. Oracle Seasons, Oracle of Ages, and Metal Gear Solid, which was released in Japan as Metal Gear Ghost Babel. It is a side story and is non-canon. It's kind of a what-if scenario. What if Big Boss did die after Metal Gear, and you had this other terrorist incident that he wasn't involved in instead of going on to Metal Gear 2. But I'll show you guys Capcom's classic Oracle Seasons and Oracle of Ages. And it runs this exceptionally well. And if you've never played Oracle Seasons and Oracle of Ages, highly recommend it. It's excellent games. And then you get the original Game Boy. And every single game I've tested on the original Game Boy runs exceptionally well as well. Let's go with Link's Awakening. That's a hot topic right now because of the remake. And again, you get the black and green tint to it that has the original Game Boy look blown up on your TV screen, and it looks really sharp. And it sounds accurate. And it runs great, as you can see. Now, Nintendo 64 is another one that is hit and miss. So I'm going to show you a game that does run very well, and that's Super Mario 64. And then I'm going to show you a game that doesn't run very well. So you'll be hit and miss with this one as well, just like the Game Boy Advance. Unfortunately, I can't get Ocarina of Time to launch at all, but as you can see here, yeah, this runs very, very smoothly. Let's just go into Bob-omb's Battlefield. I've already gotten 6 of the 7 stars in here. I just need the star for 10, 100 coins. But as you can see, yeah, it runs very, very well. It'll look sharper on PC, obviously, because you got more graphical options, but it does run great. Close content. Now let's go down one more. Original Nintendo. And as you'd expect, original Nintendo has basically no problems at all. And it runs every single original Nintendo game you can throw at it exceptionally well, as you might expect. I'm going to get so much trouble with YouTube for the games that I choose to show in this. Let's continue on. Super Nintendo. And it runs the Super Nintendo exceptionally well, as you'd expect. With a game this old, we've had a long... I mean, we were starting to figure out Super Nintendo emulation in in the late 90s, actually. I remember Zophar's Domain from back then. And I remember an emulator called ZSNES. I think it's been out of commission for at least a decade. But yeah, it looks sharp. It looks gorgeous. It runs very well. And one last one. And that is, we're going to take a look at Sonic for the Sega Genesis. As you'd expect, this runs exceptionally well as well. After this, I want to show you one thing that I can't get the playlist to work right, but I want to show you that it does work because it's actually pretty cool. And then I got a couple things in BleemSync that I want to show you as well. Genesis emulation's kind of a pain because of the nature of the sound chip on the Genesis. Not everything's going to be 100% accurate, and you just kind of have to deal with that with Genesis emulation. But it runs really, really well, as you can see. Now let's show you one more thing before we go back to main menu, load content. Let's go here. Media, RetroArch Games, Quake, 81, Pack 1. It runs Quake as well. It has a core to play Quake specifically. Now I do have an issue with this in that I cannot uninvert the thumbstick, but as you can see, it runs very well. Let's go into the options menu, video. On and turn on the graphical options. It's missing the music, and I don't know how to get the music because the music for the original Quake, which was, in my opinion, fairly essential to the overall Quake experience, played from the CD, actually. So let's go back, and we're going to go into BleemSync, and I want to show you guys a couple things here. Now, obviously, all of my games that I have shown before are installed and working. But the very first thing I want to show you is that there's a couple new. There's a folder manager, so if you want to organize your games into folders, you can. There's a game manager, which lets you delete games from this console without having to put your thumbstick back into the drive as well. But this is what I wanted to show you. Someone managed to port the first Half-Life to this thing, and they even have a custom Half-Life icon for it, which is pretty cool. And it can take a little while to load. It's a fairly big game, but it can be a little slow, which is basically my only real problem with using this as an emulation box. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it gets the job done, and it runs pretty fucking well. I love it. How long is this going to take? Stand here and... because I got one more thing I want to show you after this. Come on, Half-Life. Come on, Half-Life. It will work, I promise. It just takes it a little bit sometimes. This is the, like I said, this is the one thing that I don't like about it is you can be sitting here waiting for a while for your game to load. And you'll wonder, like, is there something wrong with my console? No, it's just taking forever to load from the USB stick. There it goes. Okay, let's go down to load game. And then I started a game, and I'm on Anomalous Materials right now. Obviously, this is right before the.
Gordon,
Oh, don't do this.
Gordon should keep you comfortable through all this. The specimen will be delivered to you in a few moments. If you would be so good as to climb up and start the rotors, we can bring the anti-mass spectrometer to 80% and hold it there till the carrier arrives.
It can be a little bit annoying as it's loading in data. It doesn't stream data particularly well, but it does work. So let's go to quit, and I want to show you one more thing before we sign off of this video. And that is over here in D, there you have something called Drastic, and what this is a Nintendo DS emulator ported over to the PlayStation Classic, and it works beautifully. Like, I am impressed with how well DS games run. The DS games, I was kind of worried about this, right? Because you think DS on your system right here is going to be a little bit weird, right? Because of the nature of the DS, with it having two screens and one of them being a touch screen. But it runs exceptionally well, and I have it set. You can have it vertical or side by side, and you can set the controls to anything you want. You can pick and choose how you want the controls to run. But overall, it looks great, especially considering just how much this is upscaled because of the very low resolution of the original DS. And it runs exceptionally well. Like, I blew it up on my 55-inch 4K television, and it looks gorgeous on that. Obviously, it only runs at 720p because the PlayStation Classic runs at 720p, but it still looks absolutely beautiful, and I was more than impressed with how well this ran. And then you can bring up your stylus. You can set that to whatever controls you want. I have it set to the thumbstick, and you can move it around. In game, exit Drastic. I have yet to find a game that it doesn't run very well. Before I go, the latest version of BleemSync actually adds some very cool features. It adds OTG support, which means there are devices that you can plug into the back of it where the power for the PlayStation Classic is plugged in. And you can plug your USB into the OTG device and your power cable into it as well, and then plug it into the wall, and it will run the USB from that, which leaves both of the front ports open for you to plug controllers into. It also adds support a wide variety of controllers. I have tried it with the PlayStation 4 controller as well as the Xbox One. Obviously, it has to be wired directly into it, but you plug it directly into your console, and it just works. It works very, very well. I'm really impressed with how well it works. And with it running like this, I don't even need the 8-bit DOE wireless adapter for it unless I want to use it wirelessly. That's the only advantage it's got at this point. It also adds network support, which comes into play. You can play Half-Life online, for example, or you can update RetroArch from the RetroArch itself, but there are only certain USB network devices that support it. So if you're going to go that route, do your research and make sure you get one that is supported by it. Anyway, that's everything. So, thank you everybody for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. It would be greatly appreciated. We'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks everybody, and goodbye.